Hello and welcome to the Heart of Britain podcast, where I explore the hidden gems of British culture. I'm your host, Paul Rexdale, and in this episode I'll be delving deep into the vibrant world of working men's clubs. That is what our first series is all about. And in this episode I'll be delving into the soul of communities across Great Britain for generations, offering a unique blend of camaraderie, entertainment and tradition. So join me as we take a step inside these iconic establishments and discover what makes them so special. Before the clubs, there were pubs, and drinking in a tavern or public house was a common pastime in Great Britain. Pubs drew customers from all social classes, but a lot of writing about drinking in public spaces was patronising to working class drinkers, suggesting they were less refined and more likely to give in to alcohol's temptations than those who were seen as socially superior. The Working Men's Club was established in the middle of the 19th century in an effort to restrict and regulate the recreational activities of the working class, spurred on by the success of gentlemen's clubs. In 1862, the Club and Institute Union, the CIU, was established to assist working men in establishing clubs or institutes where they might gather for socialisation, business and mental development while enjoying refreshments. The Reverend Henry Solly was a key figure in establishment of the CIU. It's noteworthy to mention that, among other things, Solly was a teetotaler, which greatly impacted his desire to create distinct areas for the working classes. Aristocrats and clergymen saw the potential of clubs to draw working men into clubs with supervised recreational areas that they supported and funded the ideas of clubs. Even Queen Victoria donated to the cause. When the Brighton Working Men's Institute first opened its doors in 1849, Solly saw it as a trailblazing model. Solly's motivation for the club's expansion is evident. In Hertfordshire, a club opened in 1855 and sold beer in limited quantities, which helped to close down the local pub. The CIU assisted 13 clubs in its first year of existence, and by its second year, it had assisted 55 clubs. However, further investigation was required into their anti-alcohol position if this rise was to continue. Recreation, hand in hand with education and temperance, was the CIU's motto, and the goal of these areas was to offer improvement amenities free from the lure of alcohol. Club members weren't always comfortable with this, and there was a lot of discussion about it. Founded in Wisbech, Isle of Ely, in 1864, the Wisbech Working Men's Club and Institute relocated to its current location in 1867. In 1904, it had more than 1,300 members, making it the most financially successful club in England at one point. Picture the industrial landscape of 19th century Britain, where workers toiled in factories and mines, often in very harsh conditions. In the midst of this, working men's clubs emerged as havens, where hard-working individuals could come together to socialise, relax and support one another. I remember being really young when my parents first took me into the local working men's club, sitting on my mum or dad's knee, sneaking a crafty drink of beer. They used to hold a kids' disco once a week in the club that we'd go to and burn off some energy with our friends. It was the real fabric of communities of the time and the absolute central hub for everyone that lived in these villages. There were kids' Christmas parties with the obligatory visit from Santa, and they also often had a children's entertainer on stage too, which were the highlights of the year for us kids. It was a big deal back then and demonstrates just how important these venues were to us ordinary working class people. These clubs provided a sense of belonging for working class communities, offering affordable drinks, entertainment and a space to unwind after a long day's work. Over the years, they evolved into much more than just drinking establishments, becoming hubs of social activity where friendships were forged and memories were made. Working men's clubs were like extended families. We had members from all walks of life, from retired miners to young apprentices. What brought them together was a sense of community and shared heritage. Whether it was a game of darts, a live band, or just a chat over a pint, there was always something going on. As soon as you walked through the doors into one of these clubs, you couldn't help but notice the sense of camaraderie that permeated the air. Groups of friends huddled around the bar, laughing and joking, while others engaged in spirited games of snooker and dominoes. It was clear that this was more than just a place to drink. It was a home away from home for many of its members. Of course, no discussion of working men's clubs could be complete without mentioning the entertainment. From live music to stand-up comedy, these clubs have long been a breeding ground for talent, both amateur and professionals. Household names now were once regulars on the club stages. Acts such as Cannon and Ball, Little and Large, Tommy Cooper, just to name a few, all gained their training in working in these clubs, the length and breadth of the country, before going on to find fame. A typical club would have a lounge, which was sometimes called a vault, with television showing sports, a bar where you could get alcohol, and snooker pool and bar billiards tables. Food options might be available as well. Connected to this would be a much bigger space, frequently referred to as the concert or entertainment room, furnished with a stage, tables, stools, and backrest sofas. They frequently offered late-night entertainment, mostly on the weekends, including popular music performances by comedians, live music, cabaret, bingo and raffles. They were renowned for their altruistic endeavours as well. The patrons of these new organisations, who were nobility and clergy, were always surprised by the members' intelligence and skill. They'd obtained the right to sell beer in less than 3 years. Subsequently, in 1872, a new licensing act established mandatory closing hours for bars, but it excluded the Mayfair and St James's Gentlemen's Clubs, where the lawmakers themselves frequented, from this regulation. The CIU drew attention to the fact that since they were also private members' clubs, club law applied to them rather than pub law. The judiciary, the police, and the brewing industry, which owns pubs, were infuriated by this, and even teamed together with the temperance movement to try and close down clubs. It's difficult to understand how much of an influence the working men's club movement had on British society in the 1970s. The movement had an impact on every aspect of society, with over 4 million members visiting over 4,000 clubs nationwide. Many acts that went on to become national icons trained there, as we've already mentioned. But there were also stars like Marty Kane, Paul Shane, Les Dawson, Cannon and Ball, and many more who owe their success to the hardened club audiences that helped them become famous. Frank Carson, an Irish comedian who became a huge hit with audiences and one of the most enduring talents of his period, was included in the list of success stories.
But like this next comedian used to model for door knockers, and he's very, very funny indeed. Get your hands together, say hello to the wheel tappers' best friend, Frank Carson. Thank you very much indeed. Stop the band, Derek. Derek Hilton, musician and friend. Everybody likes him more as a friend.
Large concentrations of heavy industry, such as those involved in steel, coal, mining, and manufacture, etc., historically had high attendance levels for the working men's club movement. Clubs existed in the south of England, but they were never as important. Club patrons drank subsidised alcohol on an industrial scale. Strippers transformed Sunday dinners into a realm exclusive to men, and even the biggest stars in entertainment realised that the bingo was still the real star of the show. The Wheel Tappers and Shunters Social Club, which was a primetime ITV sitcom that starred comedians Bernard Manning and Colin Crompton, immortalised the typical northern working men's club. The show's portrayal of an incompetent club chairman who frequently interrupted star shows while offering pointless comments from his ringside vantage point accurately reflected realities in many northern clubs. Johnny Hump, a producer of Granada TV, was the creator of the show, which was shot in Manchester. Interestingly though, Manchester cited the era's club artists as being a step above. It was always thought to be a place with significantly more style when it came to nightlife. A suited and booted compere, male or female, would take the place of a concert chairman donning a flat cap, lending the show a refined elegance of reminiscent era's cabaret venues. Comedian Jimmy Carroll, who began performing in public in the late 1970s, informed us that Manchester was unique. In several places it resembled a cabaret club more. There would be full house band and a proper compere. A national campaign for equal membership rights for women began in 1978 as a result of a dispute at the Wakefield City Working Men's Club. Before women were prohibited from playing snooker at the club, Sheila Capstick, whose husband was an NUM activist, was a frequent player. Her demonstration, A Woman's Right to Cues, gave rise to the national ERICA, Equal Rights in Clubs campaign for action, which advocates for equal rights across the country. After years of constant rejection of the proposal, the Club and Institutes Union finally agreed to provide women equal membership rights in April 2007, as late as that, 2007. But perhaps the most important aspect of working men's clubs was their role in preserving tradition. From the decor to the rules of etiquette, these clubs were steeped in history, serving as living museums of a bygone era. Sadly, the working men's clubs landscape has changed immensely, and what was once a thriving industry appears to be on its last legs, with clubs shutting their doors for the final time on a regular basis, leaving communities without what was once the heartbeat of those areas. You can't help but feel that in an age of rapid change and uncertainty, places like this serve as anchors, reminding us of the values that have long defined British society: community, camaraderie, and tradition. That brings us to the end of today's episode of The Heart of Britain. I hope you've enjoyed our exploration of working men's clubs and gained a newfound appreciation for those iconic institutions. Join us next time as we continue our journey through the cultural tapestry of Great Britain and the second episode of our working men's clubs. Until then, take care and keep exploring.